Getting hit multiple times coming out of that bike section. More drivers coming to blows. Well, hello and good evening, everybody. Welcome back here to Slow Motion Broadcasting, and welcome back to the Sim Racers Group F3 Championship. This is round number 4 this season, coming to you tonight from Mugello. My name is Maunz. Alongside me in the commentary booth is Joshua Wilkie. Mike Braun is our producer for tonight's broadcast. Well, Josh, welcome along board to what is really going to end up being like a homecoming in the Sim Racers Group world here tonight. Flash our minds back to January 1st, 2025. It was my first of what ended up being 446 separate broadcasts last calendar year, and it was the first one of the Sim Racers Group here on Slow Motion Broadcasting. We are on the call for that with our old pal, Mr. Meowing Adam Thompson, on production for that race. But that was where the SRG journey began here on Slow Motion Broadcasting. A year and a half later, we're back here at Mugello with some F3 cars, some of the same drivers, and some of the great, fantastic Sim Racers Group action that we come to expect here.
Yeah, absolutely. And this place, not an easy prospect out there as well. So pretty cool to actually that it's been that long as well, that SRG has been here with Slow Motion Broadcasting. Obviously a great partnership there, and we've been able to watch these drivers grow and get better and faster and get to know each other on track as well, which is a pretty key component of racing in a league there, is really getting to know kind of who you can race with, who's going to box you in, who isn't, who's going to work with you, who's not. And all that stuff matters eventually. And now we're back here at Mugello again, giving her another shot. This is a pretty difficult track, built pretty much, I believe, for MotoGP. So it's pretty flowing and fast, something I really like, honestly, and is going to be a lot of fun, I think, in this F3 car out here today as well. Jason Green, you can see choosing some pretty good lines out there around Mugello. You know, I'm not really sure I can actually totally remember the lap around here. I have raced around here a few times, and I remember getting a good rhythm and really loving this place. It's a really great track here. You can see this final part of the lap here. I actually do remember this part of the course. Very, very important to get this part right here. You can really charge into it. You can see him looking for that late apex, and then on the gas and as wide as you can get it here down. Just an immensely long straightaway that we're going to be able to get a lot of drafting done on. Of course, I raced this in an SRF, and you could pass someone back and maybe even almost have another chance at it by the time you got to the end of the straightaway. And it's a long one here. Not so straight, obviously, but very straight for these cars. Lots of curb you're going to be want to be taking around here as well. We'll hopefully follow them here on board through this first section here, taking a lot of curb. I'm not really sure. I remember in the SRF taking a lot of curb there, actually munching those sleeping policemen or those baguettes on the inside of it. I don't think you're going to want to do that in the F3 car today. Makes this track maybe a little bit easier. You can see him there, just a little bit of a correction, so he would not hit that baguette on the inside. I would imagine that's going to be because you can actually wreck the front of this car on that sleeping policeman there on the inside. Another really fast flowing section in the F3 car here. Pretty much flat, it sounded like, in the F3 car. So pretty mega section here. Want to make sure you really get this exit correct. That was a difficult spot in a car that doesn't have downforce. Another looking for the backside of the apex through here. Not an easy one to snipe there as well, and stay away from those sleeping policemen on the inside. Just a beautiful lap around here, even actually rendered very nicely in iRacing as well. There you got your background with the mountains and everything. A beautiful track here. And then this final section here, not as technical as it looks. It's pretty much flat out. Even in the SRF, it was pretty much flat out through here, and then we're back around to the end. So I guess I do remember this lap fairly well. It has been a little bit, has been a while, but I think I've been here twice before and really enjoyed it. I think they are going to as well today, but you're going to get a lot of chances out there, I think, Ron. So it's going to be a race of decision making today for sure.
Yeah, that it certainly will do. What's funny is I was going to throw it to you as kind of like a joke track guide to say, hey, you don't remember your way around this place. How do you tell us how to get around here? But very well done, Mr. Wilkie. Gotta say, this is a point where our old pal, Mr. Guido Marzucchi, if you're tuning into this broadcast, buddy, you may have to plug your ears. I'm going to try and pull off the Italian name pronunciations around this track. Guido taught me many, many moons ago. The bad news is that was many, many moons ago, and I do have the memory of a goldfish. English. So whether those pronunciations stuck or not, we will have to see. But certainly looking forward to this fourth round of the championship, where I'm keeping my eye on Stephen Case. He won when we did our first ever broadcast here in the F4s many moons ago. That was back when he was the only driver in the inter-alien category. Shows you how time flies when you are indeed having fun. Kalen Michael's going to line up from the pole position. Max Lotto going to join him on the front row, a newcomer here in the grand scheme of the SRG world. Stephen Case, who I was just talking about, will line up in P3. Next to him will be Josh Leslie there in fourth. Jason Green, JG2, will be in P5. Next to him will be Terry Crouch. Enrique Vela, the paint scheme maestro here in SRG, will be in seventh, with Josh Corwin there in eighth. Skylar Vickroy will be in ninth, with Chris Eggert completing our top 10. Josh?
Yeah, and then 11th, we have Danush Paborji in 11th place. 12th, we have Isaac Gardner. Moving on to 13th, we have Thomas Brashear. In 14th, Tyrone De Silva. 15th will be Kenan Miller. 16th is Alex Velasco. Adrian Lopez is 17th. 18th is Varun Abali. 19th is Adam Duvall. 20 is Nathan Perkins. Christopher Wang is in 21st. 22nd is the captain, Jason Cotcher. Michelle Lynn in 23rd, and Jose Navas Molina in 24th. 25th will be Diego Posada, and 26th, will be Kirker Dillon. And that'll round our field for the F3 race tonight. Pretty good field out there as well. It's a really big track, but there's going to be a lot of passing out there and a lot of opportunities, Ron. So I'm pretty excited for this one.
Yeah, it is going to be a hoot with a familiar face up towards the front. Galen Michaelwitz, it is his third pole position so far here this season. Only one win in either a sprint or a feature. He's been able to get 2 wins so far. It was at the Red Bull Ring where he pulled off a sweeper for round number 2. Let's see if he does it here for round number 4. Pulls off the good results in the even rounds. Lights are out. Drivers are on their way, and we're racing here at Mugello. That's a good start there from Michaelwitz as he tries to lead it off into the long, never-ending approach down into turn number 1. Already fanning out to 3 wide racing. Dream start there from Stephen Case, looking to clip the coupon and get the 2-for-1 deals. He adds his way through turn number 1, not able to jump his way up into the top spot as drivers skate and skid all around the track farther behind. Josh Corwin involved, Jason Cotcher, Captain Cotcher involved in that as well. Seeing Chris Eggert drop down like a rock as well. Galen Michaelwitz still leading. Stephen Case there in second. Max Lotto rounds out your podium in third. A duo of meatball flags for Varun Bali and Chris Wang, 2 drivers who won their respective classes in that opening SRG broadcast many moons ago here. They may have the experience, they don't have the luck.
Whoop, I had my mic muted there, my bad. Yeah, definitely a big run into T1 around this track. So it definitely does kind of promote a little bit of side-by-side racing there. And we saw some of it, unfortunately, some people tripping over each other there. I'm sure we'll get a replay in due time here. But up front, Kalen Michaelwitz gets a good jump there. 3 wide into T1, was able to win that one out. Stephen Case second, then Max Lotto, then Josh Leslie under pressure from Jason Green. Terry Crouch, just behind that. So we're still pretty close together. A little bit of side-by-side racing there for a moment with Jason Green and Terry in the 59. Enrique Vela looking on behind them. There's going to be some opportunities around here on. What you don't want to do is get too caught up wrestling with someone, and then you're just going to end up going backwards. This is going to be such a draft heavy track that if you lose that pack up front, it's going to be really difficult to catch back up to them again, especially in this 15 minutes. You just don't really have a lot of time to get it done out there. You got to get it done. As Terry Crouch here now actually looking for it on the outside into T1. Not a bad move, actually. You can make things happen on the outside around here. You're not necessarily going to get it there, but you can get this advantageous inside into the next. And then, of course, you're on the outside again. Jason Green looks like he's going to relent that position. And I would imagine, again, he's just thinking to himself in the car there, we're wasting time here doing this, being side by side. I got to get behind him, file in. He's got some pace, and I'll try him again next lap. And that's what you got to be thinking around here. Or Enrique Vela will be on you, and soon after that, Skylar Vickroy, and then maybe even Kenan Miller as well.
Yeah, it is It is very easy around a racetrack like this for the battles to snowball out of control. One or two drivers get involved, and the next thing you know, it's a whole party. Speaking of, this was not a party. This was not a celebration. It was
No.
contact heading down to turn number one. And that was Josh Corwin there in the number 37 car, nearly getting sent off into the tire bundles. He got sent off the track, and it was Chris Wang involved in an incident of his own as well. Contact there, big contact, and some dastardly net code involved in that as well. I will say, as we take a look at another angle of this, Jason Cotcher, one of the drivers who was unfortunately a victim of that net code there. It's been a consistent theme throughout this Sim Racers Group F3 season, and nothing that the Sim Racers Group or anyone this series is doing wrong. It's not a problem of internet connections. iRacing really dropping the ball, if I'm being completely honest, on the net code with these F3 cars. Now, granted, they are very, very old race machines. This car was originally brought out for the real-life Formula 3 season in 2012. The likes of Carlos Sainz and many others who made their Grand Prix debut a little bit later on in the 2010s were still racing in F3 around that point when this car was introduced. So it is an old car. I think it's understandable that iRacing would have some net code problems, but the Sim Racers Group trying to unite with the rest of the F3 community here on iRacing to try and raise awareness for this net code problem that has gotten really bad over the past couple of weeks. I've already made a pledge that if things don't get improved on, hey, I may try and pull some strings, as we see Thomas Bashir getting overtaken, hanging down into the second section as Isaac Gardner getting a move done on him. And we tried the Italian name pronunciations for the very first time as heading off into Materassi of turn number 4.
Yeah, it's a good try as he's going to try on the outside now, darting around back and forth in the background there behind Thomas Bashir is Adrian Lopez, looking for a way by at the moment. It looks like maybe at least he thinks he's got a little more pace than Thomas Bashir at the moment, putting a lot of pressure on him here. Not going to be able to hold him off forever. And again, like I said, it might not be the greatest idea either. You know the person behind you is catching you. Maybe they have a little more pace. Sometimes it is a good idea to let them by, attach to the back, and then hopefully you can pull away. Skylar Vickroy now is attacking Enrique Vela, looking around behind, not quite found a space yet. He's looking up the inside into the final corner, going to think better of it, which is usually a good idea here down this massive straightaway where he's going to have a chance to try to attach to the back of that draft and see if he can't get something done into T1. We'll stay on board with him here and see what kind of a draft he can get. Enrique Vela in the front, trying to break that draft down this straightaway. You know, these are not quite as draft heavy as you'd think they are in Sim, and maybe that does have to do, Ron, like you're saying, with the age of these. Perhaps they haven't quite updated into the new draft. You'd think they'd have a little bit more sometimes than they do comparatively to some of the other cars out there. But you could see that he did catch up quite a bit there, and as long as he can get a good pull out of that final corner on the next lap, you know, he'll have a chance. It's not going to help though going off the road a little bit like that around here. Small mistakes around Mugello definitely add up over the course of a race.
Yeah, it is very easy to drop a wheel around this place. You mentioned how this track is primarily used for motorcycle racing. When it comes to car racing around here, it's pretty much limited to the likes of GT racing. Ferrari used this as a Formula One test venue for many, many moons. And of course, Formula One raced here during the COVID-affected season of 2020. But it's primarily motorcycles have run around this racetrack. That's a reason why a lot of these turns are a bit more medium speed. Gotta say, though, there is one comparison to draw between last night's F4 race at Lime Rock and this one here tonight at Mugello. Very fast-paced, not a lot of time to catch your breath. You've got that start-finish straight away, and that is pretty much it. I made the Top Gun reference last night talking about the F4 drivers and what they had to do in that race. I'll make it again here tonight. Don't think, just do. Enrique Vela is doing quite good right now. He finds himself in 7th on the road as Kalen Michaelowicz only going to a 1-second lead up the front. Not really able to pull away. The battles, though, are definitely locked in the final few spots inside of the top 10. We ride on board with Enrique Vela, hang down that start finish straight away. Skylar Vickroy all over him like a bear rug, trying to get a move done there down the inside, looking for it. Side by side through the braking zone into turn number 1. Vickroy getting to that apex first and getting that move done. Jumps his way up into 7th. I will say Vickroy as a rear gunner to boot as well, because right on the back of Enrique Vela right now is his teammate there at Sky, Ken Milroy. It's Kenneth Miller there in the number 18 machine.
Yeah, absolutely. That was a pretty textbook pass there into T1. Got on the brakes perfectly there, kept the momentum, and even made a little bit of a gap in between the two of them there. Just on board with Kenan Miller now into this very technical section through here. You can see you have to take a lot of curb on the inside there, and then watch you don't go too wide there, and you're going to be pretty much flat through here. Actually, here I'm lifting a little bit there. I'm not sure if that was just because the line was slightly off, or perhaps, or maybe it's actually that way every lap. I thought I heard Jason Green earlier flat, but I could be wrong about that. Another pretty technical section here. Looking on in front as Enrique Vela hunts down Skylar Vickroy there. Not sure if he does have the pace. Kenan Miller is definitely going to keep him honest from behind as well, though. And just behind him, you're going to find Danush Paborji as well, only about 8/10 behind. So he's still got a bit of a tickle of a draft there as well. You're going to feel a draft in these cars probably right around the 1 second mark. Anything below the 1 second mark, and you're pretty much going to start slipping backwards if there's a draft party in front of you. It's not so easy to attach yourself to all the time around a track like this either. Of course, the more technical spots there, some drivers would be a little bit faster at. So the whole idea, if you're a little bit slower, is to just try and keep in that draft range, keep in that second, so you can keep taking a little chunk out of the guy in front of you every lap, and hopefully you can maybe find a better line through those technical spots and actually get a pass done down T1 like we saw just a minute ago there. But just on board now with Josh Leslie, looking forward at Max Lin-Lotto. Nobody really running away on this one, Ron. Not so much. There is some gaps out there, but maybe not quite as big as we're used to seeing. Whoop, I think we have Ron pulled the muted mic as well as me there. We'll fill him in there for a second. Terry Crouch just behind Josh Leslie here as well. You know what? And I'll hand her over. I think that's one for both of us this round, so we're even.
Yeah, it's equal treatment, shall we say. Was just talking into dead air about how we've got little packs and cliques forming throughout the field. It's like a cafeteria in a high school, what we've got going on right now. Little cliques, everybody wants to be out there with their friends. The only difference is kind of like Fight Club. Everybody wants to beat each other in the process. Not actually. We don't condone that here on SMB, but point still remains either way. We've got this little group right now: Alex Velasco, Thomas Brashear, Jose Navas Molina, and Josh Corwin. I think Navas may have a good benefit here in this race, having experienced the F4 race at Lime Rock just 24 hours ago here on Slow Motion Broadcasting. That race was frantic, as you would say, Josh. It was very frenetic from the drop of the green through to the fall of the checkered. So Jose Navas going through this F3 race right now in Mugello, despite the fact that it is very competitive, very tense, that looming fear of netcode hanging over these drivers like a storm cloud, it's maybe going to feel comparatively tame for that driver, the number 4 machine, currently running in 17th on the road right now. We take a look at some more drama that's been going on out there on the road. This is Diego Posada from Team Casada. This is him in the number 44 machine, just running wide as he headed his way off into sector 3. Odd hop, skip, and a jump that was heading off into turn number 12 around here. That was Correnta.
Yeah, not hard to call exactly what that may have been there. Looks like perhaps he's having a hardware issue at home. You never really know. You can have a monitor go out on you. There's so many things that can happen, and usually when you kind of see a bit of a dead stick moment like that, that's what it's going to be. It's going to be something to do with some software, perhaps even some hardware as well. I've actually had my brake come off the mount once on me. I've had monitors shut down. I had my brake bias once, one of the weirder ones there. My button box decided to start shorting out and changing my brake bias on the fly, and I spun 2 or 3 corners in a row, and I'm like, wow, I'm really bad. And then all of a sudden I looked down, I saw my brake bias moving around on its own, so it wasn't quite as bad as I thought it was. As Miller getting hung out to dry by Enrique Vela there, almost goes into the slow lane or the penalty lane for MotoGP there. You actually can use that penalty lane, by the way. Pro tip to bleed off a slowdown from the previous corner there. It works perfectly every time, but unfortunately Kenan Miller getting hung out to dry a little bit there. He's going to come on this pass attempt on the outside. You're not really sure, and I think maybe he just got on the 3D curbs there, Ron, perhaps. I don't think really that was too stiff of a defense or anything either, but Kenan Miller getting perhaps just a little bit high centered there on those curbs, or maybe the 3D curbs just not allowing the brakes to work like they should. But he's going to try it again here on the outside in to T1, and I think that is actually, oh no, that's actually Danush Paborji. This is for position. Not going to get that one done quite yet.
Yeah, so unfortunately for Kenan, I think the problem he had heading into turn number 10 was that curb, as exactly as you stated there, Josh. The problem with that curb, it's not a curb, it's a rocky outcrop disguised as a curb. It is the true catfish around this racetrack. You even look at that thing the wrong way, and you will pull off a Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2 maneuver, grind it down to the turn, have no directional control. It'll make a Formula 3 car, even an agile F1 car, make itself seem like a canal boat, but I digress. We follow Tyrone De Silva, who's currently running in a good spot, and jumping up now to Kayla Michaelwitz, your race leader. Things are getting close at the front of this. Well spotted from Mike in the control room, seeing this gap continue to shrink down. Last time we mentioned it here, Josh, it was about a second between these drivers. Now you can see how the gap has fluctuated half a second nearly. The margin between these drivers, we'll call it 6.5 tenths, as they head their way down into the final turn. Stephen Case reeling them in.
Yeah, Stephen Case now chipping away at that lead. He is well in within draft range now. You'll watch that 5/10 slowly tumbling, actually quickly tumbling down here now. He may even have a chance coming up here. So this is going to be the final lap of the race as well in Heat 1. So he's got to get it done pretty quick. He's going to have a chance here, I think. Maybe not this time into T1, but over the course of this lap, and definitely next time, you can see just how much better he was on the clappers into T1 there. Was quite good. He actually quite good there, and he kept his momentum and everything as well. So a little bit interesting to see that. Maybe Kalen Michaelwitz just kind of letting it breathe a little bit as well. You know, sometimes when you're up front there, you don't want to push it quite as hard, especially on the very last lap. The last thing you want to do is make a mistake. Of course, you know, the last thing you want to do as well is get past. You know, this could be strategic as well. I would be thinking, you know, maybe I make a little mistake here. Maybe Stephen Case gets around me. Maybe I draft him down the front straight and beat him to the line. Who knows what's going to happen here? But there is some strategy going on for sure.
Yeah, that is certainly the case as we keep an eye on these two. Case, Steven, he's currently running in second. Oh, thought about going for it as he headed his way out through one of the final chicanes of this lap. That was turn number 10 that he tried to go for it, but just not close enough. I think in terms of pace, Stephen Case is really rocking it here tonight, but I don't think he has enough to reel in and get him moved on Kayla Michaelwitz. We've only got one turn left to go here. Turn number 15. Unless Stephen Case goes for a lunge, he's not going to be able to do it. Or maybe he can get a good run heading down to that start finish straight away. It is a massive run heading into turn number 1 on the starts. It's a massive run to the checkered flag here at the end of this race. Although Stephen Case closes up that margin, closes it up to about 2/10 of a second, it's not enough. Kayla Michaelwitz going to win this sprint race here tonight. That's his third win of any kind so far this season, second sprint race victory. And it's going to be Jason Green finishing 6th, so he will invert up to the pole for the feature coming up tonight. I think he is going to be a very strong contender. Experience, just like you, Josh, of running in these around this track in Spec Racer Fords, and also very good in these cars as well. Finished second in last season's championship to Stephen Case after all.
Absolutely. That was honestly excellent work from Kalen Michaelwitz this season and this race as well. Really something to be said when, you know, maybe you don't have the overall pace. Maybe you are at a little bit of a pace deficit, but you still come out with that win. That's really important. That's going to matter for the championship. That's the kind of stuff that wins or loses championships. Those little things like that. Maybe when you're underperforming, maybe when you're not quite the fastest guy, but you're still able to maximize the points. And obviously the top step is the maximum amount of points, and you've maximized it. So, yeah, pretty awesome stuff there from him. Obviously, it's going to get in his head a little bit. That Case was catching him so quickly there, but you know, it's also going to get in the head of Case that Kalen's able to hold him off here. So I would have a look at our championship standings here real quick, and Kalen Michaelwitz with 228 points at the lead there. Jason Green just behind him with 148. Then we're tied actually with Skylar Vickroy 148. And we're going to go to Stephen Case with 173. So he's at a bit of a deficit. Kalen keeps popping in these wins. These are going to matter for this season for sure. Stephen Case not having the greatest start to the season here, of course, in our first few races there. A bit of pitfalls, a bit of tripping over himself a little bit, some people tripping over themselves in front of him. Pretty much everything's been thrown at him so far here, and it's keeping him back in 4th place. So it's going to be a pretty interesting one here, I think, going forward. Well, just behind that, we got Terry Crouch there in 5th. Alex Velasco will be 6th, 7th, Adrian Lopez, 8th, Isaac Gardner, Kenan Miller in the top 10, doing really well this season. and Jason Cotcher, the captain, actually still inside the top 10 here, holding on to it, tied with Enrique Vela, so just barely there. I'll let you have a look at the rest of those while we're doing our warm up here. But it's all to play for out there for sure, Ron. And you know, writing the story of being able to do it when it matters like this is a big deal. It's going to matter for the end of the season for sure. I'll let you go through these championship standings here for us, Ron.
And here are your team standings. Monster Energy holding on to the top spot, 314 points. Sky Ken Milroy, Skylar Vickroy and Kenna Miller, they've been so consistent throughout this season. Duldime Racing, that Michelle Lynn and Jason Green stable, very good. Of course, Jason Green, JG2, going to start this upcoming future race from the pole. Michelle Lynn, very good as well. And I'm not definitely just saying that because I am biased, because she is a fellow Philly native. The captain, the grandpa, currently holding on to fourth. Team Casada there in fifth. Ad Duval Velasco is in P6 with the Magnets in seventh. CT Eggshear is in eighth. The Art Merchants is in ninth. MM Motorsports, not M&M Motorsports, don't want to confuse it with the rapper or the candy bar, with Team SJ Local there in P11, with Absent Graduates there in 12th. Talking about SJ Local, of course, Sim Racer Group based in San Jose, and one of their drivers has been very courteous throughout this season to sponsor this season of action. Tonight's broadcast of the Sim Racers Group F3 Championship is sponsored once again by Dillon Motorsports and Tire. As a top-rated, award-winning service center, Dillon Motorsports knows that auto service isn't just about the present, it's about the future as well. From store certifications to simple maintenance, you'll be covered with some of the friendliest service in the Bay Area with a focus on customer satisfaction. Dillon Motorsports Tire and Auto, serving San Jose, Santa Clara, Willow Glen, and beyond. We want to thank Ulcaron Dillon and Dillon Motorsports for sponsoring this broadcast of the Sim Racers Group F3 Series. With that taken care of, Josh, we can switch our attention into this feature race. Only 2 minutes of this warm-up session left to go. The calm before the storm. And there's one driver that I'm looking at heading into this race, and that is Stephen Case. As the only champion in the history of the Sim Racers Group F3 Championship, we know that he's always going to be quick, and he has been quick throughout this season. Chase Kalen Mikowitz to that win just earlier on here tonight. But for our reigning four-time series champion, he hasn't really gone off to the start that I think he would have had in mind. His stats right now, looking all right, looking pretty good. Some drivers would wish they could have stats that he has, but only one pole, that coming at Silverstone last week, and one race win, that coming in the sprint at Circuit de Barcelona, Catalunya, way back in mid-June. So I think if there's any time for Stephen Case to get out of neutral and into first this season, this is a time to do, because once we're done with tonight, we'll officially be through the first third of this season.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, definitely. But some drivers for sure, but Stephen Case, at least in the SRG world here, is not some driver. He basically took every pole, every race. So this is very uncharacteristic of Stephen Case to have these pitfalls at the beginning of the season. But at the same time, we have to give credit to some of the drivers out there who are picking up their pace and also finding time and learning the ropes here as well. So they're chipping away at his pace. So we'll keep an eye on exactly which one of those two things is more true than the other, of course. But this is kind of traditionally this season when Stephen Case is about to have a bit of an incident here. This is not the easiest prospect when you're getting pushed back in the field a little bit. You're going to have to overtake some drivers that aren't usually even used to racing beside you at all. You think sometimes when you watch these F1 races, there's drivers on the F1 grid that have literally never raced each other, and they might not for the entire 10 years that they're in F1. They may never actually be beside each other racing in anger. And that matters. It matters to get to know somebody and how they're going to race. And that's when sparks fly. That's when problems happen that we've seen earlier in this season. So I'm pretty interested to see how this one's going to go. Jason Green will be taking us to the line there in P1. Terry Crouch will be P2. In third place, Josh Leslie. P4 will be Max Lotto. Stephen Case in P5. Kalen Mikowitz is in P6, just behind Skylar Vickroy. Will be P7, P8, Danush Paborji, P9, Enrique Vela, and Kenan Miller will be in P10, Ron.
And looking through the rest of the field, Isaac Gardner will start this race in 11th. Run number 6 will be completed by Tyrone De Silva. Lucky spot P13 will go to Adrian Lopez with Adam Duvall alongside him. Alex Velasco, Duvall's teammate, will be right behind him in P15. Thomas Brashear in 16th. Josh Corwin in 17th. Jose Navas in P18. Michelle Lynn and Jason Cotcher will complete your top 20. And then from there, it's Nathan Perkins and Kukaran Dillon there on row number 11. Chris Eggert and Varun Bali on row number 12, with Chris Wang and Diego Posada running after 26 cars set to grab the green flag here in a couple of moments' time. 5 lights on here in Mugello for the feature race. Lights are out. The drivers are on their way. Great start there from Green, but he's going to have a challenge. Multiple challenges at that. Heading down into turn number 1. He's got Josh Leslie on the inside. Terry Crouch on the outside. Drivers sending it off into turn number 1. Leslie takes the top spot. Green in trouble. Still in the midst of 3 wide racing as he heads his way out of turn number 1. He's going to have to back out of it big time. Green from the pole sinks down to 4th. Leslie up at the front. Stephen Case, what a start from the driver, the 243 car. We said that he needed to get out of neutral into 1st, and he has done that.
Yeah, great start up at the front there. Jason Green being very tentative into T1 there and pays for it a little bit. And perhaps, avoiding some kind of an incident there, but definitely sort of was like, okay, if you guys want it, go for it here. I'm in the middle. I'm just going to kind of shrink. And that's exactly what happened there. He's going to find himself now back in 4th place already. We did see some people tumbling down the tower there. That was Jason Cotcher, Nathan Perkins, I believe Chris Eggert, Isaac Gardner all got into something there right at the beginning. So again, we're seeing some attrition into T1 at the beginning after that long run that you get down into. It's so inviting to get beside your competitor there and see if you can beat him on the brakes with cold tires. That's always going to be an interesting one, trying to feel that car out that early in the race with cold tires and stuff. But up front here still, Josh Leslie leading the race here. So it was the latest on the brakes into that one. Stephen Case just behind him. Terry Crouch will be 3rd. Jason Green, Skylar Vickroy, and then Kalen Mikowitz has a lot of work to do to get back up to Stephen Case here. So we shall see how it happens. Stephen Case doing exactly what he needs to do here in the feature race.
Yeah, so a good start there as we see the drivers head their way down the start-finish straight away into turn number 1. Truly in anger for the first time. Leslie still up at the front. Stephen Case still holding on to 2nd, although Terry Crouch gave him a run for his money heading off into the 1st turn. We've got battles up and down the field, though. These drivers treating the first few laps as a good opportunity to get the moves done, go for glory, or fall off trying. We've got drivers shuffling throughout the field. Danush Paborji running in trouble, though. He's dropped down as we take a look to see this start from Stephen Case. Look at it. He was about 5th or 6th heading into turn number 1. You can see that side-by-side battling there, and he's just going to catch everybody out, get down on the inside of Jason Green. That maneuver was brilliant, then sweeping around the outside as he headed his way into turn number 2. There is a reason why Stephen Case is a 4-time champion here in this series. Very quick, but also very situational, very good situational awareness for him, as we see Isaac Gardner, again, all 4 up off the deck in some contact, heading off through the first chicane. That was on lap 1 when he ran into trouble.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, definitely very, very opportunistic stuff there from Stephen Case. And I think, Jason Green, with all this talk of net code and everything, just clinching there, going, oh no, it's, he's about to get taken out with some net code. I don't think you'd usually see him be quite that timid, but you could really see him moving away from the car on his outside there, just probably clinching, waiting for that net code to take him out potentially. But it didn't. So unfortunately, he's actually lost a few positions there. And Case going to get up the inside. Very opportunistic move there. 51 now of Josh Leslie snaking back and forth down the straightaway here, trying to break that draft. Probably not necessarily going to work out for you. If anything, you'd almost want with that gap at this point to let Stephen Case by, attach to him. See if you can get away from these people for as many laps as you possibly can behind, or you could hip check them a little bit there too. That'll work. But I'm not. I looked down just for a sec there. I didn't see quite how fair that one was, but you are allowed to use your car a little bit. Now, obviously not to make contact, but you're allowed to use parts of the road there. So we'll have to go back and have a look maybe and see what happened there. But Stephen Case has now slipped back just a little bit. Jason Green putting him under pressure now. I'll have a quick peek here and see if we can't see exactly how this move transpired. So he's going to look up the inside here. very much alongside, and we're going to go to the outside, and oh, you know what? That's going to be some netcode again, isn't it, Ron? So unfortunately, there was quite a bit of room. They could go side by side. I'm sure they were gauging quite well, actually, as drivers, and unfortunately, we're going to fall to some netcode again. So really unfortunate. Seems to be part of the story, which is something you wish it wouldn't be.
I don't believe that was netcode. I believe he just backed out of it thinking that that was probably going to end in tears, which it
Okay.
very well could have as they headed their way through that chicane section. Not a lot of spots around this racetrack to go side by side. Doesn't mean these drivers aren't going to explore those spots. That was one in question heading off through the second and third to last turns as we saw Jason Green gonna get stacked up. This is really dicey right now. Stephen Case looking to try and get away from this pack, but the pack just hounding him at every single opportunity. Now Jason Green looking for it, and now Terry Crouch looking to join the party as well. 3 wide down the start finish stretch into turn number 1. Battle last late breakers off into the turn. Look at that, they nearly fanned out to be 4 wide as they headed their way through there. Terry Crouch licks the stamp and sends it. Unfortunately slammed it into the mailbox a little bit too hard, stubbed his thumb, and he slips down. Now feeling some pressure with Skylar Vickroy and Galen Michaelitz right there on the scene as well. Your pole sitter in that sprint race, your sprint race winner, looking to try and complete off another hat trick like he did at the Red Bull Ring 2 weeks ago and win the feature as well. On the back foot big time, has a couple cars and about 2 seconds to try and close up to even be in consideration to try and win this race. At the moment though, it is frantic stuff throughout this field. I'm not sure if it's something in the air or these drivers may have gotten a little bit carried away at the wine tasting, but they are going for the jugular tonight.
Yeah, this place is super racy, I think, too. It really does promote some passing. It's, like you said, those kind of mid-speed corners. I think these cars really do sort of like a track like this. And they're out there racing it. They're having a good time. It looks like we got some drivers who know this place fairly well as we're going to lose. I think that may have been Kalen Michaelitz. It's not something you want to see at this point because he was making some headway there. He was just about to say he must be salivating over what's going on in front of him at the moment here. But it does look like, was that Kalen or was that Keenan? Let me just get my bearings here. So that is going to be, no, so it was not actually. He is still within touch here. Not too far behind, but yeah, you're going to want to stay as close as you can. He's going to be salivating at what's going on in front of him here with Stephen Case, who is under pressure for about 2 full laps at this point. It's not going to be easy for him not to be sliding backwards towards Michaelitz at this point. Going 3 wide now again into T1. Vickroy going to take that inside line. Terry Crouch on the outside again, getting professional at holding that outside line in the 59. Used to call it the high, wide, and handsome line, I believe, there that he just took, and that was a pretty nice one. He's going to hold on to the position, actually, and actually gain one from Stephen Case there, so pretty awesome stuff happening in this pack of cars, and I'm here for it. This is pretty cool.
Yeah, he's either high, wide, and handsome.
Boy.
Oh, as Vickroy gets very sideways as he headed his way out of turn number 5. Now going to have to try and hold on to it. Stephen Case looking for it. That's an odd spot to try and go for a move. That usually ends in tears. It doesn't for Case, but still side by side between him and Michaelitz. Michaelitz gets shown the door, sent off the track. That was through the Arabiata section of 8 and 9. And unfortunately for your sprint race winner, he's now fallen all the way to the tail end of the top 10 and may have more room to fall. Some gravel on the tires as he heads his way through the mid sector. That is going to go together quite like water and sodium. That will be explosive as we take a look to see what happened here. Vickroy holding on to the inside line. Galen Michaelitz gives him enough room, just overshot a little bit. I think he clipped that curb on the inside, caused him to just drift a little bit wide. It is almost impossible to go through this section side by side. It's tricky enough single file, let alone racing with somebody on your outside or your inside. So I do want to give these drivers credit for going through with side-by-side racing as well as they did. Any other series, and we probably would have seen a car end up striking the moon.
Yeah, absolutely. And honestly, again, a shame. That looked like netcode to me, and unfortunate because we're getting some just amazing side-by-side racing here. And, you know, it's not something you see all the time. It's a real shame to have it broken up by some of that. Kalen Michaelitz now going to have a real hard time catching back up to this group. Although if they continue to fight like this, anything is possible. He isn't totally gone yet. He is still back there. You can actually still see him in shot fighting with Max Lotto. So Stephen Case under some serious pressure here. You know, to be honest, I don't think he's getting away anytime soon from this pack. So we still have everything to fight for here. Got to be a little bit more careful around that netcode. But we just witnessed some pretty awesome side-by-side racing in SRG F3 there for about 2 or 3 laps, and it's still happening right now. Keenan Miller beside Joshua Corwin. It's anybody's game at this point. This is pretty cool. There's a gunfight going on in a few different, or a knife fight, sorry, in a few different spots. Here's almost lost. I believe that was Linlotto off the back there. Almost lost him on some 3D curves, but he's going to hold on to it as well. It is getting scrappy out there, Ron.
I really don't like the look of this right now. I'll be honest. They are 2 by 2 as they head their way down to turn number 12. I'm waiting for something to snap because I feel like it's going to happen soon. We've seen so much good battling, fantastic racing. I got to say, brilliant driving standards as well for drivers up and down the field to battle as hard as they have been and not have it end in some sort of tears. But the racing gods and the law of averages will not allow this to remain the case through the final 15 minutes. I'm convinced of it. We've got this really scrappy battle right now. Alex Velasco, who's been around the block many, many times here in the Sim Racers Group world, versus Max Linlotto, a driver who I've gotten to see develop ever since he made his debut in this championship. Contact made as they headed their way down the start-finish straightaway. That was nearly at terminal velocity before the braking zone, and they somehow got away with it. If that was wheel-to-wheel contact, we would have probably seen a driver ballpark it, but thankfully they didn't. However, it has split those drivers up. Velasco drops down. He falls into the clutches of Tyrone Da Silva, and now Kayla Michaelwitz looking to get a move done here on Max Linlotto as well. That's the fight for 8th. There's also the battle for 6th between Kenan Miller and Josh Corwin right there up the road. I gotta say, Kenan, I am a fan of that old Jaguar F1 throwback paint scheme there on that car. I think last season he was running an Arrows throwback. So we're going into the early 2000s with some old F1 cars. I may have been, about -4 when Jaguar made their F1 debut, but that is still an absolutely fantastic looking race car. You can't go wrong with British Racing Green unless you put it on the 2026 Aston Martin, and then that car is a tractor. We've still got battles so all throughout this pack. This has been an insane race here. Mugello is one that it's kind of odd to get a metric on how good the racing may be or not. I've covered races at Mugello that have been absolutely stunning. I've covered races at Mugello that have been absolutely dreadful. I'm happy to say that this is more in the former instead of the latter. This has been fantastic.
Yeah, we're getting action basically every moment of every lap here. Just following along now with Kalen Michaelwitz in 9th place, still trying to punch his way up through the top 10 here into the podium positions. Needs to get as many points as he can. Stephen Case also thinking the same thing. Linlotto now making a move on Josh Leslie into T1. Pretty textbook stuff there. Josh Leslie will Joshua Corwin, will just funnel in behind him there. Probably the smart thing to do here as well. See if he can attach himself and go forward. Keep perhaps Kalen Michaelwitz off of him, but back now with Stephen Case. Skylar Vickroy still hounding the rear of Stephen Case here. He's got a bit of free air in front of him, so that draft behind is pretty hard to break, isn't it, Ron? If you have somebody that can, as long as they can stay in that 1 second from you, they're going to catch you down that front straight every lap, and that can be really, really annoying, for the driver up front. You can actually see from the times here, the latter half of the lap there is actually losing some time, and then he gains it back, or at least a nice chunk of it, in the first couple sectors of the lap. So pretty interesting stuff there. I know I have had to deal with that before, and you have a little bit more pace than the driver behind you, but you just can't shake them. Or sometimes, on the adverse side of that, you can be Skylar Vickroy, and you think you're going to catch every lap, and every lap you're just out there. You think you're going to be able to do it, and you just can't quite do it. And the numbers start clicking down, the time starts clicking down, and before you know it, there's 4 minutes left, and you haven't been able to do it, and it's difficult. So from both minds of the drivers there, I'm sure they're in there sweating, trying, keeping each other honest out there, which is exactly what you want to see. I'd have to say, actually, overall, everybody's keeping everybody pretty honest out there at the moment. There's a lot of racing going on the field right now. You can see by our timing tower all of those numbers where people have actually gained positions, a few lost, but we got a lot of gained positions there as well. So tons of passing out there, tons of close racing now, as going to try the outside. Usually doesn't work out, going to file back in, but that's a pretty good way to also blow off some momentum and not lose any time. So pretty well done there from these guys up front.
And we're hearing that there may have been some trouble for Kukaran Dillon, and here it is. It's a spin as he heads his way through the turn. Thankfully, not going to be as disastrous as it could have been. Still not great, but not horrible either. The other driver involved in that, I believe, was Diego Posada, who has since gone back to the pits. He has a meatball flag right now, unfortunate. Another 2000s F1 throwback there with the Braun paint scheme, as trouble for Skylar
Oh,
Vickroy, heading out of Arabiata 2, goes for a hop, skip, and a jump through the gravel trap, going to rejoin, loses out on a boatload of time and a boatload of spots, now finds himself in ninth as we take a look to see what the problem was here. This section is when you are at the limit of adhesion. There's not too much that the aerodynamics can do to help you. There's not a lot that the mechanical grip can do to help you here. One small little miscue, one small little misstep, and you're in trouble. I think what may have got him there was too much of that inside curb. This may be a MotoGP track, and it may have very forgiving curbs outside of those overcooked sausages at many portions, but they can come back to bite you. These F3 cars, along with all open wheelers, they do not like curbs. That is not a very good combination.
yeah, no, definitely not. You're right too. That section there, not easy. You're trying to maximize through there as much as you possibly can, and you kind of enter it with enough speed, and you just hammer the throttle. You can just understeer through it. You sort of have to, bleed the throttle on and off really nice and smooth. And taking a bit of curb on the inside never helps that scenario. Like you said, you're going to get kicked a little wider than usual. I think in an F3 car, and in the SRF, you were just munching over those curbs and over these baguettes on the side of the road. But you're not going to be able to get away with that in the F3 car more than once or twice, or maybe even just once for sure there. So unfortunately, seeing Skylar Vickroy now slide backwards a little bit. Critically, though, Kalen Michaelitz moving up. He's in 6th place now, just behind Max Lotto, so he is making a little bit of headway there. Looking now on at Max Lotto attacking Stephen Case, so he's back in the picture here. That didn't take him too long. He's definitely got some pace. Stephen Case, and pace, definitely poet and didn't know it there for a moment. He's definitely got a lot of pressure on him here, and he's had a lot of pressure on him for a lot of laps. He's got to be sweating in that car. Those tires are probably pretty hot from cutting shapes and trying to block and pass and all of these things there. So it should be pretty interesting in the next little bit to see exactly how this is going to play out. But Kalen Michaelitz definitely still has a chance to get up there and get in front of him.
Yeah, I will say, as much as the race pace from Case is usually great, this has not really been the case here at Mugello. If I said that 5 more times at speed, I probably would have had my tongue fall out of my mouth. But he's in trouble. You can see a little bit of front wing damage on that car. Just the ends of, yeah, there you can see a perfect view there. Thank you, Mike, from production, looking at that view, heading down the start-finish straightaway into turn number 1. The left side of that front wing just a little bit ruffled. It may be rippled. That may be good news if you're making a potato chip, but it's not good for a race car's front wing. He's in trouble. That is hurting him through the turns, and it's hurting him even more heading down that massive long straightaway. He was already feeling some pressure as he headed his way through the final turn. Throw that straightaway into the midst, and he is in real deep stuff right now. Max Lotto right behind him, less than 0.2 of a second. The margin between these drivers is Max Lotto looking for it at every single opportunity, heading through that downhill section. I thought that he was going to try and lick the stamp and send it. These two drivers still very close, heading out of Arabiata 2 off into the 10 and 11 chicane right now, a heavy braking zone. Case, though, able to hold on to that spot. Max Lotto has got to figure out what he wants to do in this battle, because if he doesn't go for it, you know that Kalen Michaelitz is directly behind. He is right there. Those two drivers look to be the ones that are going to be squabbling up for a championship here this season. And although a third race win, well, a third victory of some kind here tonight after grabbing the pole and grabbing that sprint race win, although he's looking for the future, I don't think it'll be enough. He's going to look for something as Max Lotto look for it down the inside, heading off into the final turn. He clears Case, jumps his way up into 4th. That's going to stall these drivers out a little bit. Case is going to look to try and get the move done potentially, even with that front wing damage, going to try and make something work. Now here comes Kalen Michaelitz, going to clip the coupon, get the 2-for-1 deal, heading off into turn number 1, gets the spot on Case, looking for the second on Lotto, sweeps around the outside, running around the outside with the trailer park girls through turn number 1. Now on the inside through turn number 2, Michaelitz trying to pull every trick out of his rabbit as he can, and not going to be able to do it through that section to start off with, but he finally clears them, heading out of turn number 3.
Yeah, absolutely beautiful work there from Kalen Mikowitz. Did not actually notice that early on there, the damage on Case's front wing there. So there's blood in the water there, and if Kalen Mikowitz didn't know that, he certainly does now. He was able to catch up there fairly quickly and make a really nice pass. Again, you know, you start on the outside, you end up on the inside, and able to get it done there around both drivers. Kenan Miller now under attack from Skylar Vickroy, who's recovered from that incident. He does have some pace. He is going to be looking to move forward here. A lot of blood in the water with Stephen Case there now. He is going to be under attack by these drivers. That last, about 5 minutes now is going to feel like 20 minutes to Stephen Case. He wants this over now if he could. Hopefully, he would be wishing that this was the last lap, but there is a few more left here, and he's going to have to try his best to hold these guys off. It's not going to be easy, but Kalen Mikowitz now going to have the points on Stephen Case again. So for the championship here, it is definitely heating up still. That is going to put a bit more points on that stack. So pretty interesting stuff here, man. We have a lot of racing left in this last 5 minutes.
I do quickly, before this battle starts to heat up here between Alex Velasco and Kenan Miller, I want to address, I ended that last piece into the microphone saying pulling a trick out of his rabbit. That sounds illegal. I want to say here at Slow Motion Broadcasting, we do not endorse behavior like that.
No,
However, we do endorse this great battling as Velasco and Kenan Miller were still going side by side. Hang down to turn number 1. Miller now jumping up into 9th and trying to apply some pressure here to Josh Corwin, who's running directly behind Skylar Vickroy. Vickroy, I think, with some of those off-track excursions, I'm not sure whether his car is wounded, but I know for a fact that his confidence potentially is here as well. Velasco looking for it down the inside. That's a jump scare to Kenan Miller. It's a jump scare to me in the booth as well, as he headed his way through 6 and 7. That was a gutsy move there from the 777 driver, but he gets it done to jump his way up into 9th. Gotta say, as all this has been going down, we're 3.5 minutes away from the fall of the checkered flag, and Josh Leslie has checked out. 4.7 seconds is the margin right now. Jason Green, gotta say, he's put together a very valiant effort after getting chewed up and spat at by the field hang down to turn number 1, which I have my own theory about that I'll share here real quick. He's been able to put on a good drive. My theory is this. Jason Green, I know the kind of driver that he is, having covered him in the Weekend Warriors for as long as I did. I know the kind of mindset that he has. I would not put it out of Jason Green's sort of idea of how to set up a race car if he decides to tune it a bit more for downforce instead of straight line speed. I'm not sure whether it's he that develops the Dual Dime Racing setups or Michelle Lynn. Maybe they set up their own different cars. I'll have to do some investigative journalism there and ask about the setups about these cars. I remember I did that many moons ago with Michelle and nearly caused her to reveal all of her trade secrets while on a broadcast. So I'll make sure that I don't do that on the air this time around. We see Terry Crouch holding on to the final podium spot, still within striking distance of JG2, but not close enough to really give that much of a charge right now. We're getting into crunch time with a white flag going to be in the air, I think, next time around. So time is certainly running out for these battles. So, that level of aggression we've already seen, Josh, you may have to crank that up a couple more notches.
Yeah, absolutely. If he wants to get something done here, it's gonna have to you're gonna have to turn it up a few notches for sure. And I was not expecting. I don't think anybody was expecting beginning of this one. Josh Leslie is holding on to this one to the end. He's actually making a gap from everybody now as well. So found some pace out there. Very impressive stuff. We've got a bunch of different winners this season. Really awesome to see up 2 positions and leading this race in the final moments here. So pretty awesome stuff. Stephen Case now still under pressure from Skylar Vickroy. He's got to be sweating in that car. This has not been an easy one for Stephen Case to hold on to this position here today. Definitely had the pace, but took a little bit of damage there, probably on one of those baguettes, maybe on the back of someone's vehicle there. But unfortunately, that's really going to hurt you down this front straightaway. This is such a draft heavy track and such an aerodynamic. You need proficiency around here, and obviously that's not going to be proficient at all. It's going to be dragging. You're going to lose a little bit of downforce as well. So final lap here for Josh Leslie. Got to hold on to that one now just for one more lap. Skylar Vickroy is going to look on the outside into T1 of Stephen Case here. He's going to be able to get it done. He might be able to here because of that deficit on the inside, but he is actually going to think better of it, at least for now. Not able to quite get that one done. Just behind him, Joshua Corwin looking on, maybe able to pick something up here as well by the end of the lap. So you got to keep your... Oh, Velasco looks like he's going off the road in the background there. I definitely saw some skid marks. Was doing really well today as well. Final lap, those 3D curbs are going to get him. Unfortunately, 3D curbs playing a bit into the story again here, Ron. That's at least the third car we've seen tonight. Looks like it actually got a little bit high centered, and unfortunately Velasco is gonna move backwards from about 9th to 15th on that one. So that took a really good race. That always sucks at the end of a race like that when you've worked so hard and had such a good move forward that you end up back in 15th. So hopefully you can come back and make that one a little better next week. But yeah, gonna find it at the end of the lap here, unfortunately. Or sorry, didn't quite make the end of the lap here, unfortunately. Josh Leslie, though, looks like he's going to take the win here in the feature race at Mugello. Going to do a little bit of back and forth, slithering down the straightaway here in celebration. I'm sure he was not expecting this one today, and really put on a masterclass. That was awesome stuff. Jason Green going to bring us home in second. Terry Crouch in third, and then Kalen Mikowitz, Max Linlotto, and Stephen Case. So the championship run still blown wide open. Like you said, we're about a third of the way through. Nothing is in stone yet, but that is definitely writing a story that we're not used to in the SRG F3.
Yeah, and with that win, Josh Leslie now going to make it 4 different feature race winners to get this season up and rolling, none of which go by the name of Stephen Case, by the way. It's been Jason Green at Barcelona, Kayla Mikowitz at the Red Bull Ring, Isaac Gardner last time at Silverstone, and now Josh Leslie capturing the victory here. And what a drive he put on to be able to do it as well. Made up 2 spots from the green, showed some good speed in that first race, but I don't think we were expecting him to be the main force to be reckoned with in this feature race. But not only was he the force to be reckoned with, he checked out and pulled a 4.5-second margin between the start and the finish. What a drive there to capture the victory. Just a few more drivers left to come across the stripe. Nathan Perkins will be the last here in the number 5 machine from absent graduates. 2 drivers, well, 1 driver actually only falling out of this race, that being Adrian Lopez. A little bit earlier on ran into some trouble. I believe Diego Posada may have been a late dropout. He ended up 1 lap down. I believe he had some issues throughout this race. But as for Josh Leslie in the number 51 car, your race winner here, a very stout podium when all things are considered between Leslie, Green, and Crouch. A shout out where shout outs are definitely due, as we see some drivers popping smoke there. Farther behind, Chris Eggert ends up in P10, 13 spots gained from the drop of green through to the finish. That was a very good drive, definitely worth his flowers there, as we see the drivers come around to complete this parade lap, well, complete this cool down lap, pardon me, and then go on to the start finish straightaway right about now. Gotta get some photos, and then we'll get some results, and we'll finally be able to catch our breath, Josh, after a very action-packed 48 hours here on Slow Motion Broadcasting between the season opener for the American Muscle Series at Sandown last night here on the channel, the Sim Racers Group F4 Series running at Lime Rock, SKR Sim Racing, and a very wild race at Road Atlanta earlier on tonight, and this fantastic action here from the F3s. It was a 48-hour period to remember, and folks, we have still got you booked here on SMB Summers. Finally seeing Josh Leslie burn it down, and as we see him char those rear tires, let's take a look at your race results. It's Josh Leslie gonna grab the checkered flag when it's all done. He scores a victory here. It's Jason Green finishing in second. Terry Crouch will grab the final podium spot. Kayla Mikowitz, good drive there, ends up in 4th. Max Linlotto, still think he has a very good shot to win a race this season, will be in 5th. Stephen Case, unfortunately, things not really materializing in the way that he would have had in mind, ends up 6th here in this feature race as he looks to try and get his 5th straight title. Skylar Vickroy will be in P7 in front of Josh Corwin there in 8th. Kenan Miller will finish this race in 9th, with Chris Eggert rounding out your top 10, Josh.
Yeah, and then we have Tyrone De Silva in 11th place. Thomas Brashear will bring home 12th. Adam Duvall in 13th. Jason Cotcher, a bit of pitfalls today, will bring home 14th. Alex Velasco right at the end there, unfortunately losing some positions, down to 15th. Danush Paborji in 16th. 17th will be Jose Navas Molina. Isaac Gardner will bring home 18th at the end of today. In 19th place, we have Chris Wang. In 20th, Varun Bali. 21st, Kulker and Dillon. In 22nd, Enrique Vela. Michelle Lynn will bring home 23rd. In 24th, we have Nathan Perkins. 25th, Diego Posada and Adrian Lopez will bring home 26, 13 laps down. So some pitfalls there as well tonight. Not an easy one to survive out there, Ron. There was a lot of passing. There was a lot of drafting. There was a little bit of net code. We had a little bit of everything out there. A lot of side-by-side. Pretty cool stuff, man. This place races, like you said, it can kind of be up or down. I've had a couple, maybe endurance race I did here once. That was a bit of a snoozer. Not the F3s, though. The F3s really shine today around here, and that was great. Actually, the 3D curbs playing a role as well. So we've been talking about those a lot this season in this F3 series. Something to note for sure for all the drivers and viewers out there watching. If we're ever near 3D curbs again, be ready to see some cars having some trouble with them. So they are a thing now for sure.
Yeah, those 3D curbs, being around them is, it's a bit like walking through North Philadelphia wearing an outfit that makes you look like Grimace from McDonald's. That does not seem like a very good combination. I've never done that personally. I've never known anybody that has done that, because anyone who probably has done that has probably found themselves in some sort of asylum or wound up getting whacked. We'll move off into our interviews now, shall we? I just had a episode. As I'm looking through to try and figure out who we have a chat with here first. I think we will get the interviews up and rolling by having a chat with our P3 finisher of Terry Crouch, joining us here in the broadcast booth right now. Terry Crouch now with us here. Terry, welcome in. Well done on the P3 drive. You're able to capture that result here in this feature race. After a couple of past races where some falling anvils have come down, it's been a pretty good run of form here tonight. How was it out there?
Oh, it was tough. You can hear me?
Yes, we can. Loud and clear.
Yeah, it's always a pleasure to race these guys. I was pretty nervous about this track because I had never seen it till yesterday and tried to do a crash course and figure out without crashing too much. But up until a couple hours before the race, I wasn't even going to drive tonight because I was so out of control. And then the captain kind of guilt tripped me. He's like, "Nice job, teammate." So I put my big boy pants on and figured out what to do, but just made too many mistakes to try and catch Jason. He's always so fun. It seems like every week he and I are wheel to wheel somewhere. So, and Skylar usually too, but no different tonight.
Yeah, so good drive for you here. I do want to ask you about this racetrack at Mugello. Just 24 hours ago here in the Sim Racers Group world, we saw a pretty wild race with the F4s running at Lime Rock, a track where the drivers didn't really have any room to breathe throughout. Feel like that kind of had the similar feel to these F3s running around this track. Outside that start-finish straightaway, it's pretty much just constant turn, having to deal with something at all times. Pretty stressful night probably behind the wheel.
Oh yeah, total flop sweat by the time I finished. Because not only are you chasing the cars around you or defending, it's if you get stuck behind somebody, you can lose 2 or 3 spots just from one corner if you have to lift. But it felt like so many of the corners were blind here, and I was trying to find apexes and still figuring out marks. And it got better as the race went on, but by then I didn't really have anything. I thought I might get Jason, and then I just made too many mistakes trying to put the hammer down.
Yeah, so a good drive for you, a good result to P3 when it was all done here tonight at Mugello. Do want to ask you about the next round of this championship. We're heading off to Spa for round number 5. What are your thoughts heading there?
Usually I'm really good there, but in this group, anywhere top 5, top 10, wherever, I don't know where I'm going to shake out, but I have a lot of laps there, a lot of 24 hours in other cars. So I know the track really well. It's just figuring out this car and if the curbs affect it the same way.
Awesome, man. Well, hey, Terry, thank you for joining us here in the booth. And before we let you go and celebrate this podium, we'll let you give any thank yous or shout outs.
Oh yeah, thanks to the wife, the daughter, all the grandkids who like to watch these things. That's pretty fun. And of course, Jason, SRG, you guys, that the competition here is unlike anything I've ever seen. And each week, the broadcast, the preparation, everybody, the community here is pretty insane. It's again, like nothing I've seen before. So shout out to everybody involved with this.
It certainly is something quite special, and happy to see you get a good result here tonight, Terry. Thank you for joining us, and we hope to see you next time out there at Spa.
Thank you, sir.
And that right there was Terry Crouch, our P3 finisher. Josh, I will pass the mic off to you and ask who you would like to have a chat with.
Let's see. We'll bring in Christopher Wang here, I believe, next. I think he finished here. Let me see exactly where he finished off in 19th place tonight. Christopher Wang did. So I'm going to grab him and bring him down here in the feature race. Got 19th tonight. Not an easy track out there. And man, there was a lot of passing back and forth. A lot of side-by-side racing. We're actually just watching now the replay of you here with some wings tumbling and some dirt flying beside you there. How do you see it out there tonight, Chris?
Yeah, what's up, guys? Yeah, I had a pretty bummer start to the heat race. Maybe some netcode, maybe not, but somehow, some way I took out Varun and Jason, so apologies to them. Whenever I see this track, I do some officials, I do some practice, and I think, oh, I love this track. It's so much fun. I get to dance on the edge of grip the entire time, and then it comes league race day, and I'm a couple seconds off the pace. So maybe I need to be pushing it a little more, especially with how often people say they get 1Xs all the time off tracks, and I'm over here with thinking, oh no, I'm going off tracks at all. This is a great safety rating track. So, but still a lot of fun. Started from the back in the feature and got to have some good racing with people I don't typically race with, especially with Welcome Back Danush to SRG and the league racing, and with some Isaac Gardner a little bit. And yeah, it was a lot of fun today still.
Yeah, excellent. Always good to get out there and race beside some drivers maybe you don't usually get to race beside. And I know the feeling for sure when you've been kind of practicing during the week and you feel like you're up to speed and you show up and top 10 guys are like smoking you and you're, oh my goodness, well, I need to find some pace out here. It happens to me sometimes as well, but it is out there. You can find it. I would suggest definitely, I'm sure you guys have Garage 51 or something like that. See if you can get somebody else's telemetry up front there, have a look at it. There is little secrets to these things that you end up finding. That's how I ended up finding some pace out there as well. I'm sure the guys at Sim Racers Group help you out with that thoroughly each week there. But yeah, how was it out there for you today, though? Did you get some passes in there as well? Is this a track that you enjoy? Do you like the kind of flowy, fast ones like this, or more street courses?
Yeah, so I actually feel like I enjoy these tracks a lot in terms of driving them and hot lapping them and racing around with other people, but I tend to be faster at the technical courses and the street courses. Maybe I'm a little bit cautious with, I feel like a little mistake at a street course sometimes is just a wheel bang off a wall, or you end up disintegrating against the wall, but it's not too bad. And then a little mistake at a super fast course like this or like Spa could result in you spinning off and taking out 5 people like a bowling ball. But I still have a lot of fun today. And I think one of the great things about racing in the SRG League is that there is great racing up and down the field. It doesn't matter if you're the fastest racer in the world, you're an alien, you're 5,000 IR, or if you're, at this point, skilled enough to get around the track with some pace, but maybe not quite up there. There's still great racing to be had.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. That's always the greatest part of these leagues like this, for sure, is that there's always somebody to race with no matter where you are, and you get out there and have fun as long as you can finish up the race. It's good. And speaking of taking people out like bowling pins, we are headed to Spa next. T1 at Spa. Pretty interesting corner. It's one of those tracks again that just seems to spawn a lot of racing. Either people get really spread out and you end up having a really spread out race, or you have a bunch of pack racing and there's a bunch of passing up and down the straightaway all the time. So kind of similar to this track as well. Is that one you're looking forward to? You're going to have to go do some practice this week, see if you can find some more pace.
Yeah, I have a feeling that Spa and Mugello are going to be fairly similar to me, and that I'm going to have a lot of fun driving around them, but might not have the pace, so maybe I'll try and put in some more practice. Yeah, definitely there are, there's a lot of fast straights around here too, but the straights at Spa are, I think, a whole nother beast, so that might keep some of the pack racing a little bit close. I think there's a pack racing tonight too also, so looking forward to rewatching this broadcast and seeing what's going on.
Awesome, man. Right on. Well, good racing tonight. Is there anybody you'd like to thank here before we let you go?
Yeah, so I kind of just alluded to this, but shout out to you guys for sure. I love watching these races. I don't race on the Tuesdays, but always watch those. And even though I race on the Wednesdays, I still rewatch them afterwards because there's just so much good racing up and down the field. And you guys do such a great job with better graphics than my computer of showcasing those. And yeah, shout out to all the racers out there at SRG and how we all manage to come together every Wednesday night amongst the world. So much fun, so
Awesome.
much a great time.
Awesome, man. Thank you so much for the kind words there, and we'll catch you next week at Spa, man. Have a good week.
Have a good one.
And that right there was Christopher Wang. Another one of the drivers that was actually there for the first ever SRG race here on Slow Motion
Yeah.
Broadcasting a year and a half ago. So how about them apples? Let's have a chat, shall we, with our 12th place finisher coming out of tonight's race, that being Thomas Brashear, who's now joining us here in the broadcast booth. Thomas, welcome in. It was a P12 for you at the end of this feature race, but a pretty good result. Just seeing the checkered flag at what looked like a very challenging combination here at these F3s at Mugello. What were your thoughts on tonight's race?
Exhilarating. Normally, I've been in the back of the pack, so to be in the mid pack today has been nice. I'm a big fan of Mugello, so it's one of those tracks that kind of just clicks in my head. So I had a blast.
Yeah, it did look like a fun race. I do want to ask you, though, about the mentality of trying to get around this place smoothly. This is a pretty challenging track, an endless barrage of turns that you're having to deal with. So how was it just trying to stay with it to keep yourself on the road?
For example, the heat was absolutely terrifying. Qualifying P13 was a little above my weight class. So especially at those turns, if you mess up once or you're going slow, you got like 3 cars coming up behind you. So I had sweat dripping down my head. And realistically, my mindset was just, if I can collectively get back together, start getting some good lap times, I'll be fine. But like, you make one mistake and you're gobbled up.
Yeah, it certainly seemed like one small little slip up and like walking around a tightrope, you were going to go for a big fall afterwards. Do want to ask you about Spa in 1 week's time. What are your thoughts heading there?
Great track. Love it. I'm ready to have some fun. I've had a couple of trying to stay away from the incidents and hopefully do good. Keep the points going, trying to not be a detriment to my teammate. So as long as I keep scoring, I'm happy.
Yeah, so a good drive for you here tonight, Thomas. Thank you for joining us here in the booth, and we hope to see you out there on the racetrack next time out. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. You guys have a great rest of your night.
Yep, you as well. That right there was Thomas Brashear, our P12 finisher. Josh, I'll pass the mic off to you to have a chat with a driver who got involved in some incidents throughout this race, but still is a sponsor through Dylan Motorsports, that being Kukulran Dylan. I'll pass the mic off to you.
How's it going, Cotcher? Good race tonight, but a bit of pitfalls for you there, finishing in 21st place. Not the easiest track around here. Lots of passing, lots of stuff going on. We're just watching the replay now of spinning into the litter here, or sorry, the car spinning just behind you here, and you locking them down. Unfortunate. Was this one a tough one here for you tonight there, or is this something that usually you do pretty well around these tracks? Just didn't have a good night.
No, this track is definitely my kryptonite. I usually don't do very hot on it. Don't look forward to it. Try to just work on staying on the track and close the gap of the times I should be in.
Yeah, absolutely. This place not an easy track for sure. It takes a lot of laps to kind of get some of those corners of some really sort of counterintuitive stuff. You're really looking at the backside, a few of them, the 3D curves, and it takes a lot of time for sure. I've definitely splits the community almost every time we race here, but we are actually headed out to Spa for the next one. So not, it's definitely not like this track, but it's fairly big and has a big long straightaway like this one does. Is that one you're looking forward to on the next one as well, or is that one you don't mesh with quite as well either?
That's always a pretty fun track. No, I mean, on that track, I know where to turn left and where to turn right, so it usually works
Yeah.
out pretty good. But I mean, we got some really tough guys in here, so it's it's always just striving to be better than the night before. That's really the main goal right now.
Yeah, absolutely it is for sure. We'll be looking for you at the next one there, and they're very different courses really. This one being built more for MotoGP, I think, and has those fast sweeping corners. You got a lot more braking and stuff to do around Spa, and you're right, it always does race fairly well, and there's some pretty fast drivers here as well, so that's going to be an interesting prospect as well. We got to thank you for sponsoring the SRG season here. Couldn't do it without sponsors like yours. Perhaps you'd like to give us a little rundown of the business there and what you guys do.
Yeah, well, Dylan Motorsports, we're in San Jose, and we are a one-stop shop. I mean, we do tires, alignment, diagnostic work, anything you may need. Don't get into body work, but we strive to get better and better and ever learning when it comes to vehicles, and there's really no make or model that we can't touch.
Awesome. So cool to have the IRL sponsors there, especially when they are in the same vein there of motorsports and car view on board there, man. We're proud to have that logo up there. And thank you so much for sponsoring these seasons. We love putting these things on. And man, it's just been awesome watching the F3 racer get better and better and better season after season here. Tonight was an awesome race. I think you're going to have a pretty fun time looking back on this one. There was a lot of side-by-side racing, a little bit of net code spoiling a few of our parties out there, but for the most part, it was a pretty good race around Mugello. We've had 4 different winners at 4 different outings here now, so our feature races now. So pretty awesome season we're shaping up here as well. Some storylines going on, but before we let you go here, we'll let you give some thanks out.
Yeah, I want to thank you guys for everything you guys do. Makes it really cool. I mean, people get so surprised to hear how this is all set up, and of course Jason from SRG and Tyler for going through picking who created what incident and all that. He has a really tough job, so we're just trying to be his friend so he doesn't give too many of those points away.
Yep, that's fair. You got to sidle up where you can. You got to get every advantage you can out there for sure. What awesome racing tonight, man. Great. Thank you for the kind words there for sure. We love putting these on for you guys. It's something we genuinely enjoy here. It's our passion as well. We love watching you guys improve out there and race. So thank you so much for allowing us to do it. And we'll catch you on the next one, man. Have a good week.
All right, you guys as well. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
And that right there was Kukaran Dylan, our sponsor for this broadcast. What a good night on his own. But with this broadcast coming to a close, that is not the conclusion of the action here on Slow Motion Broadcasting. Far from it. This upcoming Sunday on July the 12th, we'll be able to bring you round number 4 of the Ray Esports Summer Shootout Series. That will be the debut of the MX-5s running at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. The American Muscle Series will be back here on the channel at Mid-Ohio on Tuesday, July the 14th, right before the SRG F3 broadcast at Interlagos. SKR Sim Racing will be back here on the channel at St. Petersburg for some GT3 racing on Wednesday, July the 15th at 7 p.m. Eastern, with SRG F3 coming to you in 1 week's time when the series rocks up to Spa. Josh, it has been a very compelling and very competitive first third of this season, but now we look ahead into the middle portion. Final thoughts before we wrap things up from a competitive Mugello.
Yeah, like you were mentioning before, it has been a busy 48 hours of racing around here at Slow Motion Broadcasting. And myself, I did a race yesterday and then commentated and produced a race in my racing shoes. And then it's just been back and forth racing. I think I'm about to put them back on here and do a little bit of practice as well for next week. So living the life here at Slow Motion Broadcasting for sure. We got lots of stuff coming your way on the channel here. So yeah, I'm just glad to be a part of it, man. Thank you guys so much. Mike Braun, Ron Maunz, SRG, all the admins there doing the hard work, like Cotcher and Dylan said there at the end, and of course our sponsors as well. Can't do it without you. Really looking forward to the rest of the season, man. So yeah, I'm here for it.
Yeah, it is going to be a blast. We're having fun here. SMB Summer on the channel, and happy to have your company here on Slow Motion Broadcasting week in and week out. If you don't want to miss out on the racing action, you should probably hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you get notified every single time we go live. If you want some action here from Slow Motion Broadcasting in a slightly shorter form, happy to take a look at some of our YouTube shorts here on the channel as well. If you're interested in us covering your iRacing special event or iRacing series, you can join the Slow Motion Broadcasting Discord server. If you want to be a part of the action as well, you can join and look at our sign up and race segment so you can be a part of this amazing racing action as well. But after this broadcast here for round number 4 of the Sim Racers Group F3 Championship here tonight at Mugello, that will do it. So for myself, Ron Maunz, Josh Wilkie joining me in the commentary booth, and Mike Braun working on the cameras and the graphics and the virtual production hauler, I say thank you all so very much for tuning into the action here on Slow Motion Broadcasting tonight, and we hope to see you all wherever it is in the not too distant future.